Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Mystery lady, I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Mystery lady, I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy. I could see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy.
Jamil, I remember in 2006 when you decided to go to Atlanta. I wasn't really excited about you going, but I saw that you were determined to go. Because when you were on your way, the car broke down, and you got out of your car and got into your cousin's car and had your car towed back home and kept going to Atlanta. And then from there, I just saw how you began to bloom. And you had your ups, you had your downs. And even though I was here and you were there, I was still just a phone call away. And we talked every day. It's just been exciting to see how you've grown, how you've changed your way of thinking, how you've enlightened me in your journey, how you've shared so much knowledge, and you've taught me so much. You've taught me how to think for myself. You've taught me how to investigate for myself and seek out the truth. And that's something that I never did before. And I'm really grateful for that. It has taken a lot of courage for you to do the things you've done. You have made me proud. I'm excited for you. I love you. I admire you. You encourage me to pursue the best me that I can possibly be. In all that I do, I share with you. And I'm grateful for that, and I love you.
Mystery lady, I know the world is going crazy. I could see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy.
Everybody, let me bring myself in. How y'all doing? Good morning. Good morning. Look at all that bass in my voice. Goodness gracious. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Come on in, have a seat. Have a seat. Share this out. We're going to have a nice, light Saturday for all the people out there. It's kind of cold here in Atlanta. That's why I have on a hoodie, but it should warm up later on. Good morning, Tanisha Ingram. Good morning. We're going to let some old people come in through here. This week, I've been going back and forth with like, what do I want to talk about? Because there's so many things that's happening in real time. There's, man, you turn on the news, it's just chaotic, which, control through chaos is one of the big attributes this regime uses to control the minds of the masses. Good morning, Miss Spivey. And throughout it all, I try to maneuver through the waters and find some peace and some tranquility in the midst of it all. And so I was having a conversation earlier in the week, and it was regarding the Zodiac. And let me start off by saying, we are controlled by the things we don't know anything about, nor comprehend, understand, and or overstand. And so when you start learning about the intricacies of life, you can start to see the parameters, like the barriers and the obstacles, the tricks and the traps. You can start seeing a lot of those. You may not see them all, but now you can wade through the waters. You can be like, all right, that's an illusion. That's a smoke and mirror. Okay, let's go this way, that. And so when I was younger, and I would think a lot of people feel this way. You feel like you're awkward or you're different, and so some people tend to assimilate with the in crowd, the popular group. And I could never do that as a kid, primarily because they ostracized me a little bit, but because I was different. There would be some of those in the popular kid group that would come individually and like be my friend or be cool with me, things of that nature. But I always wonder why certain things just didn't click. And I thought that made me weird. And so we're going to jump into the Zodiac a little bit. And if we can, I want to get some of you guys, some of the listeners to kind of chime in so we can kind of communicate with each other. This is going to be an interactive segment where I want to feed off of you, and vice versa. So for those that know me, you know that I'm an Aquarius. And growing up in where I'm from, if you're black, you're Christian. You're thrown into the jaws of the church, and the church basically, in my opinion, halts thought process, because if it's not out of this book, it's wrong. One thing that the church made illegal or bad to look into was astrology. Astrology, I don't look into the horoscopes and be like, oh yeah, that's on point. That's like the fortune cookie of Chinese meals, right? So fortune cookies, I say that because fortune cookies are not Chinese. America made that up and put that with the food. That's not a part of their custom. And so I don't look at the horoscope and be like, yeah, that's actual, because the church has made astrology illegal and evil, even though astrology is one of the very first sciences that civilization still uses to this day. You wouldn't have a calendar if it wasn't for astrology. You wouldn't have the Great Pyramids. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have the 5 Abrahamic religions if it wasn't for astrology. You wouldn't have much of anything. And so, good morning, Mama. Glad you are here. Good morning. She has finally entered the building. So anyway, what I was talking about, the Zodiac. And so I never really looked into astrology until I went away to college. And one thing that I know is that a lot of information isn't really given to you via the public school system. That's the free education. And in a lot of cases, a lot of free stuff is harmful for you. You look at the foods. The cheaper foods will get you up out of here quicker than anything. Whereas the foods that cost the more money, they sustain a certain healthy lifestyle. So let's think about this as far as food for the mind. So when you get to college, you start to pay for information. Now you're getting information that's in the same sort of alignment with what you was getting in high school and elementary and junior high, but there are a lot of details that are missing. And so as a stand-up comic, you have a joke. These jokes consist of certain words. Certain words make the entire joke funny. Once you start removing words, once you start altering words, that whole joke takes a different form and becomes something else. Either it's going to be funnier or it's going to be funny. It's going to be less funny, less impactful, because of the different building blocks to that entire structure is starting to be altered. So I started learning about astrology, and I started learning about Aquarius. Since a kid, I didn't like tradition, because when you look at tradition only worked for the period of time that it was created, and it halfway worked then. So when you look at a lot of traditions that we keep going forward as melanated people, none of it benefits the future self. It keeps us in bondage. It keeps us locked into a certain mindset that's dead and gone. For instance, you think of soul food. Traditionally, soul food is good. Why? It's because when it's prepared, a lot of your family comes around and you fellowship with a lot of your family, friends, loved ones, your neighbors, yada, yada, yada. That's the only good thing about soul food. Because when you look at Big Mama, Paw, you look at all of them, they died from soul food. They had they didn't necessarily understand the playing field that they was in, so they actually prayed over the soul food. I was out yesterday, and I saw people holding hands and blessing their food. They were blessing poison. You can't make that make sense, but that's a part of the tradition. That's a part of the tradition that doesn't work. Black folks are traditionally Democrats. Democrats have not done anything for black folks, but it's a tradition to do that because we've been taught the Republicans are the racist group. We're not taught that the Democrats have hand in that actual racist system. But we follow things. We follow the traditions. So when I found out about Aquarius we don't fool with tradition. I was like, wow. Everybody else tends to deal with tradition, but it was just something uniquely ingrained in me that I didn't even understand. That I don't like this. So anyway, in this conversation, I started to talk about the Zodiac, and I went and I revisited the Aquarius sign. And every time I read it, it's like, well, daggone, it's spot on. From the good, the bad, the ugly. Now, speaking with a friend, we you're not supposed to use the crutch of, well, I'm this, so I'm supposed to be a dick, or I'm supposed to be a butthole or something. No, you're not supposed to. You can correct that. But I go all the way to say about the Zodiac, you start to actually learn about inside. You get to learn about the inner workings, and not to say that it's actual factual, like the whole gambit, because you do have to weigh in the parameters in which how you were raised. If you were raised in a tumultuous environment, abusive environment, your genetics are already altered, and so is the way of thinking. So a lot of that plays into who we are too, our trauma, our dysfunction, things of that nature. What's up, Aunt Lynn? Yeah, you Aquarius too. Right on, Aquarian. Shout out to Aunt Lynn. But these things, when you start to actually learn about yourself, and then you start looking to the outward world, now you understand, like, oh, this is a trap. This is a trick. I remember my grandmother told me one time, she said, because she told me I was going to hell because I didn't go to Easter service, which I'm like, Grandma, I haven't been to Easter service since I was a kid. The whole parable about Easter is about, it's what is that? I'm having a brain fart. It's the solstice. That's what it is. It's about the sun dying, going down to its lowest level for 3 days, and on the third day, it rises to the highest. I mean, when you think of the metaphor of Jesus walking on water, the Son of God walking across the water, that was the sun, the actual sun, reflecting across the water. And the sun has always been acknowledged as God or Amun Ra, because without the sun, you don't have life. So, a lot of these metaphors that the ancients created, they have become, those words were changed and altered. And now you start looking into a man outside of yourself instead of looking into who you are. And so I want to get some people on the chat right now. Let's discuss what your zodiac is, because I had a roommate that told me, "Oh, I don't believe in that." And to tell you the truth, we have to stop avoiding things based off of our comfort or lack thereof. Just because you've never heard of what I'm saying or anybody else is saying, it don't matter if you believe 2 + 2 is 4. It's 4, whether you're comfortable with it or not. And he was like, "Oh, I don't believe in that stuff." And so I read his zodiac back to him. And I said, "This is spot on to who you are, because I know who you are. This attribute right here is you. They don't know I'm your roommate. They don't know this. Whoever wrote this and put this on it, they don't know nothing about you. But this is your zodiac." And so that should have, which it does with me, implore people to be like, "Yo, I want to look into this. It's interesting." What up, DJ Godzilla's? So I know Aunt Lynn is Aquarius. Godzilla's is a Taurus. His birthday is this Monday. We're going to give him a shout out before it starts. But let's look up Taurus real quick. Okay? We're going to look up Taurus. Zodiac sign. Dwayne Johnson is a Taurus. Reliable, patient, practical, devoted, responsible, stable. That's one of your strengths, Dre. And I know that to be a fact, because why? Because I knows you, brother. At least it's to a certain capacity. It says Taurus likes music, Do you like music, DJ Godzilla's? Romance. You've been one romantic brother ever since I met you. High quality clothes. Working with hands. Dislike sudden changes, complications, insecurities of any kind, synthetic fabrics. Practical and well-rounded. Taurus is the sign that harvests the fruits of labor. Now I'm gonna stop right there because I know Dre harvests fruits of labor. Dre, loan me $1 million. I know you got it. So this right here alone is what I'm saying. This should intrigue you because this iPhone and this website does it know Dre? But it's breaking down certain characteristics that tell you this is who you are from the stars. And so, it's very intriguing that you have these institutions that tell you don't look into that. You have certain institutions that tell you don't look into the internet. And for what I do with my side business and just speaking to people, I like to speak life into people. On vacation right now, first one in years. Hey man, have it up, do it big. Where you at? Tell me where you at. But I like to speak life into people, and that's one of the Aquarius traits because I see the potential in a lot of people that I come around, but so many people are already defeated before they even get started. I talk to people, and when it's easy for them to do it, then they praise themselves. Oh, I did this. But when it comes to a level of complication, when it challenges you and you get uncomfortable, you throw in the white flag and you pull the parachute and you jump out the roof and you come back to safety. You come back to your nest. But is that what life is about? Life's about, I mean, I would love life to be easy. I would. I didn't ask to be here to deal with all this complicated stuff, but I'm here. So while I'm here, I have to do the best with what I have and try to enhance this experience for my future self. And so what happens is we put a lot of this energy into outside forces that were created to keep you from your purpose, your 1000% potential. There's a phrase that was something about nobody's perfect, nothing's perfect, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you one thing that is perfect, and that's nature. Nature is perfect. Remove mankind, remove humans, the birds, the lions, the insects, cells, the air molecules, the clouds, the universe. Everything works together while speaking a totally different language. Everything works, ecosystem. That's perfection. Everything works as it should to maintain proper balance and harmony. And once we were like that too, once we maintained that, it was until whatever construct that created all this bull crap that made mankind want to control another man. Whatever that is, whatever that was birthed inside of human beings, that created imperfections. The universe is crazy. I mean, not crazy. The universe is perfect. Nature is perfect. And guess what? We are a part of all of that. When you break down our cellular beings down to the mind, we have every aspect of life in us. From the earth to the stars, it's in us. And somehow, some way. And it has nothing to do with religion. As a matter of fact, that was forced onto mankind. Outside of that, you don't have all this craziness that's going on. So I implore people to start looking into certain things that speak to you, that awaken that energy in you. Talk about you. Learn about you. Stop learning about all these other things that's not tangible, that you can't see. Well, you can't see air, but I bet you what? Take air away and guess what happens? You're out of here. But you can take all these other invisible institutions and constructs away and you're perfectly fine. My man Cha-Cha said, well said. What's up? Good morning, Chisel. Appreciate you for showing up, brother. Yeah, man. DJ says, shout out to Mama Harley. What's up, Mama? DJ Godzilla said, one Zam. But yeah, give me some more Zodiacs. Let's go over it. Let's talk about some of this stuff. I had a really charged up couple days, man. Just leaning back into self. You know, to check. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was like, "What's up, Sly? What's up, baby? Good to see you always, my guy, Sly, ISU representative." And my friend asked me. He said, "So, at what point in life did your outlook on life start to change?" And I couldn't give him a specific date because of all the things that I've experienced through life, all the places I've traveled, all the people I've come in contact with. When you get out and you actually experience life, it's like seasoning a dish. So you can have the same recipe that I have. Say it's meatloaf. Let's say we're making a meatloaf. And let's say you just learned your recipe from your grandmother, who learned hers from her grandmother, and they come from a very specific region. And say I take that same recipe because we have the same grandma. But instead of me keeping to the tradition of this dish, based off of my travels and my introductions to other spices, I throw a little this, a little that, a little this, a little that. The dish looks the same, but it tastes totally different because I left the nest. I left and I went and experienced life, so I gathered more experiences that will help me season this dish called life. So that's what helps to create a different mindset. If you stay in the same place and everybody's telling you the same thing, if everybody in this, like I have conversations all the time, and sometimes I just want to be quiet. But this guy was telling me at work how he went over to China and he refused to eat any of the food. He said he refused to eat any of the food. He's like, yeah, man, because they be eating lizards and cats and dogs and all this other stuff. And I'm listening. I'm like, but you eat cows and chickens. It's an animal. Now, if you're in this region, you're probably not going to go to Waffle House and ask for a Rottweiler with cheese. You're probably not going to do it. But you're going to ask for a cow, medium rare, with cheese. I don't even know if they do that there, but I'm just, for storytelling purposes. And then you're going to look at a different country that does have Rottweiler. I'm like, oh, that's nasty. How you eating Rottweiler? But then they looking at you like, well, how you eating cow? So if you stay in that same region and you never break out, you never go out and move about and speak to different people from different cultures, different backgrounds, people that have different religious beliefs, different spiritual beliefs, then you're going to think everything that you think you know is the only thing to know. I know people on certain parts of town that won't leave and go to another side of town. Like if they live in East Point, they live in Douglasville, if they live in Sandy Springs, I got everything I need right here. I'm not going outside. So I'm just saying all that to say that's how my mindset changed. Now my brother Cha said he's a Cancer. Miss Spivey, she's a Cancer. Let's talk about cancers. And what's funny is I know both of y'all, and I know both of y'all have Cancer traits. But we're going to talk about the Cancer. Let's do a little dive into who y'all are and the potentials of who y'all are. Okay. Tenacious, highly imaginative, loyal, emotional, sympathetic, and persuasive. Boy. Cancer likes home-based hobbies, relaxing near or in water, helping loved ones, a good meal with friends. It's funny it says a good meal with friends because Cha-Cha always says, hey, let's have a good meal. I'm not making this up. And I know, Miss Spivey, you love water. Well, everybody loves water. But it says weaknesses: moody, pessimistic, suspicious, manipulative, insecure. Deeply intuitive and sentimental. Sentimental. Come on, somebody. Sentimental. Y'all are the R&B, the epitome of what I think R&B started with cancers. Cancer just stood up and said, you know what? I'm in a sentimental. Let's make some music. Go on and hit one of them trumpets or something. I'm about to sing to my lady and my man. Y'all started R&B. They are very emotional and sensitive and care deeply about matters of family and their home. I'm talking to the two cancers right here. I know that's y'all. I know that's y'all. Cancer is sympathetic and attached to people they keep close. Those born with their sun in Cancer are very loyal and able to empathize with other people's pain and suffering. Miss Spivey has been loyal to the Jamil Harley comedic movement since it started. Cha-Cha has been loyal to Jamil Harley since we were in high school. People learn about who you are. And I'm not just saying this is the end all be all, but it's a start. Everybody don't have these same traits. Why? Because everybody have different traits from hello. Come on, somebody, give me another one. And we're going to end it with this third one because I'm hoping that this getting into it. I hope that it's really perking. It's like perking up something inside you. Like, you know what? I do need to learn more about me. That's not selfish. That's not egotistical. This life doesn't come with an instruction manual. You're taught by the elders, hey, I did this. This is what messed me up. Don't do that. If you have wise elders around you, there are some old fools around here that's teaching the young people to continue on their foolishness. Okay, she come through with the Scorpiozo. Now she and my cousin, my brother, Kome, they share the same birth dates. And they are very similar. And grew up on two separate sides of towns and the two different types of family structures. Resourceful, brave, passionate, stubborn, a true friend. Scorpio likes truth, facts, being right, longtime friend, teasing, a grand passion. Dislikes dishonesty, revealing secrets, passive people. Scorpio born are passionate and assertive people. They are determined and decisive and real research until they find out the truth. Come on now. Scorpio is a water sign and lives to experience and express emotions. Although emotions are very important for Scorpio, they manifest them differently than other water signs. In any case, you can be sure that Scorpio will keep your secrets, whatever they may be. But astrology is bad, people. Astrology is bad. Let the people of these other institutions tell you astrology is bad, and you got people walking around talking about, oh, I don't believe that. Well, give me back your calendar then, since you don't believe it's real. Give me back everything that was created with that in the ingredients. Don't use none. Put all that down. You don't need it. Learn about yourself. That way, when the media comes on TV and floods you with negativity, you can be solid in who you are. And then not only that, you look forward to who you will become, because now you're starting to release those chains. Those chains keep you in a certain paradox in this life. You can break from that and flourish and move into something, move it far greater than what you'd ever expected. All right, we gonna get off of that. One thing before I get into this the George Foreman documentary. Has anybody seen the George Foreman documentary on EPIX? If you haven't seen the George Foreman documentary, it's on EPIX. You can get a week free membership through Amazon Prime. But I would encourage you to get the week free. I mean, they have a lot of other good programming on it, but if you just want to watch this Foreman, you have to. I didn't know much about George Foreman outside of Ali tricked him and, took his belt, and the George Foreman grills, which were amazing in the late 90s, early 2000s. Your house wasn't complete without a $20 George Foreman grill, okay? When I was in college, we talked about this last week, them chicken dinners. Oh, man, George Foreman turned my cooking abilities into what's the reality cooking show, Hell's Kitchen, for college level. Oh, man. Ramsey would have had me my own restaurant and show right there in Terre Haute, Indiana. I would have been selling little chickens, but nonetheless, it would have went down. But so one thing that I do want to address. The other day I started my car up, and anytime you start your car up, the radio comes on, and I was like, man, I can tell I'm more wise. I'm wiser now. Now, when we were younger, we were like, man, they just old. They don't get it. It wasn't that they were old and didn't get it. They were wiser. They were wiser to the tricks and the traps that were played on them. And now they're seeing their future selves being tricked and played equally. But they didn't have the information that we have today. I turned on the radio, and it was, I forget which rapper it was. He couldn't have been 22, 23. And just listening to the lyrics, I was like, why is it that country music doesn't go consistently this extreme from song to song to song? What is the agenda of mainstream hip hop and R&B? It's quite obvious, but why don't we see that it's obvious? So the guy went on to say he was talking about how many women he had, which when you look at him, remove the jury, remove the money, he wouldn't have those women. Talked about killing people. You make it cool to talk about killing people. He boasted and bragged about throwing money away on senseless material things. Then I'm in the gym and I listen to this young lady throughout the whole song just talk about how fat her booty was. And I get having fun. I was young once, and Cash Money taking over the 99 and 2000. Come on, right now, a lot of us 40 to 50-year-olds, you're not going to be able to break it all the way down because your knees are bad, but you're going to dip a little bit. You're going to be like, it's nostalgic. I get it. But you look at the place in society where we are at. We know who I'm talking about. We're in this place we're having a good time in this place while the pot is heating up. It's the equivalent of you putting a live frog in a pot of hot water to cook it. And instead of that frog jumping out of it, he's in there dancing like, boy, it's heating up in here. I should leave, but I'm having too good of a time. And then the chef is like, boy, look at that frog go. Boy, come over here, James. Look at this pot. Boy, this frog is popping. And then they throw little ingredients at you, like, keep it going. They throw a little food at you. They might throw a little money at you. Keep on going, frog. Keep on going until the frog is dinner. Country music doesn't do this. Folk music doesn't do this. And so then you talk to the younger people like, well, they get into the bag. I get it. But you're being paid. You are being contracted to sell off your people into destruction. The last thing we should do is parade around here. And I'm not trying to be perfect. And I'm not saying anything about, I'm saying it's overdone. The recession should have taught a lot of us this. These high-end brands, what makes them high-end? Because somebody told you they were high-end. Oh, this is high-end. It's worth $2,000. It's a purse. You can carry your money in it. You can carry your money and your credit cards in it in style. Or this belt. Yeah, this is $600 belt because you need $600 to hold your pants up. Or these are some designer slides. It just has a French name on it, but go and give them $400 for it. We are surpassed the point where we should be more intelligent in our moves. Like, this is an environment full of landmines. You go over here, and instead of the people being like, you know what, hold up, slow down. Before we go forward, we need to devise a game plan because we are not winning. Everybody else is winning. I went to a restaurant yesterday, and was playing all this music, and what it is everybody knows how to sift money out of us. Just play the latest and greatest music that's going to get us in a trance to want to shake our booties and do all with our fingers and all this other stuff. Come on in here. You can do that, but give me all of your money. Give me your resources. This stuff isn't good for you. It's going to poison you, but come on in here. Have a good time. Play. I was in last weekend at the Galleria. They had the Dessert Wars, and this was funny to me. The DJ was playing the Cupid Shuffle. Cupid Shuffle will get everybody on the dance floor. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. You play the Cupid. If I was to play the Cupid Shuffle right now, those of y'all that's listening to me would be like, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the... Y'all would be doing that listening to me. So he was doing that, and he got everybody on the dance floor. A lot of people came on the dance floor. Kids and all. And then he got really excited. He got over it. He got beside himself. He's like, we in Atlanta, right? We in Atlanta, right? And then he started playing some of this detrimental music. And you just saw the people disperse. They was like, oh, no, we not about to do that. And I'm thinking, this is a grown man. He looked older than me. He could have been younger. He would have been the same age. You couldn't tell that this is a family-friendly event? But you want to put this poison in here, this mental poison? And I was actually grateful that the parents recognized that and pulled their kids away and was like, let's go. So it's a lot. To credit us, there is a lot of us that are starting to get to the point where like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is kind of telling. I see what y'all doing. And Sly, he had commented on one of my posts about this earlier in the week, and he was in agreement. And I was like, that's why we have to turn our backs on those of us that are getting paid to sell us out. We have to at this point. We we have to. Just because you get into the bag, our money ain't good money. Our money ain't good money. You know, in slavery, the slave driver, that was a black man that got just a little bit more scraps than the average African slave. He may have had a shed that was just a little bit less creaky, little less drafty. And he was more terroristic to those slaves than the slave master himself. These are who your rappers and your singers are. These are who your entertainers are now. The people that y'all go pay money to go see in verses and not the old school. Some of the old school people, but some of them are cool. But now we glorify these agents of self-destruction. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm you can call me the old guy now, but I would say I'm more seasoned. I'm wiser. The brain doesn't fully develop until about 25 years old. So that means under 25, these kids are just going to the melodies and the beats and the vibrations. They don't really understand that you are praising genocide. And all the other races groups are just looking at us like, boy, this motherfucker crazy as hell. You turn on the news earlier in the news, Jamal just murdered his whole family, or something crazy. And it can be a lie, it can be propaganda, but because everything else in civilization plays to that narrative, the people that don't come into interact with us, they believe that. That's called social engineering. Real quick, one last story before I get to the George Foreman thing. I remember working for a company where I installed a point of sales systems into KFC restaurants here in Georgia. It was a third shift job. You had to do it when nobody was there. And they would have you all over Georgia. And so one contract, there was like, you have to go to Forsyth County. If anybody knows anything about Forsyth County, in the 90s, Forsyth County was rated the number one most racist counties in all America. So you can tell, when I got that contract, I was like, third shift? It's going to be nighttime? Ain't nobody going to be around? Whew. Somebody get a little rocky. So I get into the KFC, and it was a younger white male manager. And I go in there, I go to the back. He points me to where the systems are, and I wait for 11 o'clock. And he comes in there, and he was like, "Do you want the soda?" Now that was my horrible Russian accent, but I can tell that he was Russian. So KKK, that left my mind. I was like, "Oh, we're dealing with a bigger threat. Oh no, all hands on deck." But then he started talking, and he was cool. And I had to check myself, and I said, "Now, Self, why did you automatically go there with him just because of his accent?" And it dawned on me due to my research, that was the social engineering that comes, because whenever I was ever encountered with somebody from Russia, it was through the news, it was through the movies. And in the movies, they always have Russians as the diabolical terrorists. So naturally, that had been planted in my subconscious. And so when I hear the accent, I'm like, oh, he's sent here to kill me. I must be a double agent. My watch ain't working. Mayday. We are controlled to the things we don't understand. And so we went on to talk, and he was telling me how him and his family had moved here because of the civil war that they were going in, that they were having in their country. And there were two countries that offered them asylum. That was Australia and it was America. They chose to come to America. And it wasn't, I think he said his parents was here maybe 10 years, and then they moved back to Czechoslovakia. I'm probably messing up. Czechoslovakia. And they weren't even finished cleaning up over there, but their parents said, Americans are crazy. We got to get out of here. And I laughed because I said, we are. You have to be crazy for a system that is openly doing what it does. It brings drugs over here, but then it locks up the drug dealer. It was back in 2018, what was that? Chase Bank, Morgan, and I forget the bank. They were caught. Their tanker was caught with $32 billion worth of cocaine. That was in the news for 30 minutes and then it left. You didn't hear about it ever again. There was no big arrests made or nothing like that. But anytime somebody gets caught with a pound of weed, that's plattered all over the media everywhere. And you're like, oh, this person's bad. They're selling weed, even though there's a bunch of people making millions of dollars off legal weed now. You'd have to be crazy to sit in this and be like, oh, this is all good. You just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. As if that's the case for everybody. So anyway, enough of that. Now we're going to get into the George Foreman. The George Foreman documentary on EPIX is called Forman. Now, this documentary was interesting to me because, like I said, I had never really followed George Foreman outside of his fight with Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and then the grill. That George Foreman grill was amazing. But it took us back to his early beginnings. George Foreman is from the 5th Ward in Houston. I never knew he was from Houston. I never heard an accent, and I don't know, that's probably the ignorance of me thinking everybody from every corner of the country needs to have an accent, because I hear people from those places with accent, but he didn't have one. And he was a bad kid. Let me redirect that. He was misguided and didn't have any direction. He grew up super poor in the 5th Ward. He used to rob. He didn't graduate high school, and it was something happened to him, and he went to Job Corps because he's in this documentary. He had robbed somebody and he ran, and the police was behind him, and he had to run and hide under a house, and they let the dogs go, but he hid himself from the dogs, the scent of him from the dogs, by covering himself in mud. And he promised himself when he gets out of here, if he gets out of this alive, he's going to make some changes. Pause it right there. That's another alarm clock. Alarm clocks happen to wake people up. A lot of people, if you don't have anything that happens that's like life or death, sometimes you just go through life like for doop. But it takes an alarm clock. What is an alarm clock? Alarm clock is something that is aggressive. It aggressively wakes you out of your slumber. It's not peaceful. It's not harmonious. It's not kumbaya. It's get your ass up and get to work. And so he had that wake up call. So he goes off to Job Corps. And he, if you ever been around anybody that's a fighter, that they always into something, knuckleheads. Somebody told him, you think you big and bad, you might as well, you think you can box or something. So then he gets into boxing, and boom, he finds something that he's good at. He ends up, going to the Olympics to fight. Things start opening up for him. And if you watch any of his younger fights, George Foreman was a slugger. Like it didn't look like it was going too fast, but once it connected, like he was like a almost equivalent to a Mike Tyson of our day, but not as explosive, not as agile, and not as exciting. I mean, not to take anything away from George Foreman. George Foreman will get in that grip. But he was just going through just obliterating people. Then he goes and he fights Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier, everybody was afraid of George Frazier. Smoking Joe Frazier was a problem. He beats Joe Frazier. So now he's up in the clouds. He's up in the clouds thinking like, yeah, I'm the man. Homes all over the place, riches, all this other stuff. Here comes Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is older than him at the time. He's been beat a couple times. And you would look at Muhammad Ali, you'd be like, well, Muhammad Ali is over his prime. And a lot of people didn't think Muhammad Ali was going to win because George Foreman was a beast in that ring. That's like, Muhammad, his days are done. And so they get into, and I tell anybody that hasn't saw that fight, hasn't seen that fight, go to YouTube and watch the full George Foreman Muhammad Ali fight. You will learn a lot of stuff just about life. So Muhammad Ali gets into the fight. George Foreman's just letting him have it. Boom, boom. Ali's hanging on the ropes. Boom, boom, boom. And you're like, dang, he's killing Ali. He's killing Ali. Ali was a more seasoned fighter. He was wiser. He had been around the block multiple times. He learned things that an inexperienced George Foreman couldn't have learned. He couldn't have learned because he hadn't been doing it long enough. So he only knew what he knew, which was just get in there and let him have it. Boom, we'll do it the Foreman way. Ali was wiser and more seasoned. Brad says great fight. It was amazing fight. Ali did something called the rope-a-dope. The rope-a-dope is what he did was he let George Foreman box himself out of stamina. Ali knew that he couldn't go toe-to-toe with a younger George Foreman. He knew that. But he knew that George Foreman was younger, inexperienced, and more egotistical because George Foreman wanted to knock him out. He wanted to knock him out. And so with his young, inexperienced, egotistical self, he goes in there and he just will. If anybody has ever sparred or hit the bag, I don't know how fighters do it. I mean, when you look at a street fight lasts well under a minute. That's probably why they start shooting people. Now they're like, you know what? I don't have the time and energy for this. Let's just go to the Wild Wild West. That's not the reason, but I'm just saying that for jokes and giggles. So he's in there, he's punching himself out, and Ali's holding his head down, talking crazy to him. Ali is taking a beating, but he's wiser. So I forget which round it was. At this point, George Foreman was spent. And George was saying, as the rounds prolonged, Ali's voice got stronger. It was almost like Ali was getting more energy as the rounds went on because Ali was playing checkers while George was playing Uno. George was playing checkers. He was playing I Declare War to a mastermind. So Ali kicked it up, and boom, he's now the heavyweight champion of the world again. That made George Foreman, like that was the decline in George Foreman. From that fight on, George started to decline, and then he left boxing altogether and became a preacher. And was never going to touch boxing again. And then that money ran out, and then voila, he comes back to boxing. 10 years later, he starts fighting a bunch of no-names. He's like 300-something pounds. But because of him stepping away from boxing and doing other things like with the church and other things, he became a speaker. He learned how to manipulate the crowds, and he said he became a salesman due to becoming a preacher. He understood how to sell things. So he started selling the fights. And so here comes Holyfield. Oh, Evander Holyfield's in his prime. And Holyfield's like, man, this old dude, man, I'm about to demolish George Foreman. Now, they're hanging with this story because I'm watching this story, and I watch things in movies, and it was so inspirational. George Foreman gets in there with Holyfield. Holyfield's giving George the business, but it's not doing nothing to George. And with every hit, every punch that George giving Holyfield, Holyfield's like, oh, shit, this old man still got it. So Holyfield was smart. In the last round, Holyfield didn't box Foreman anymore. He held him because he said he would rather win on points than try to knock Foreman out and then get knocked out himself because George still had it. So he ended up beating George Foreman. But George Foreman lost that fight, but he won a victory because now he showed people, yeah, I'm in my 40s, which is ancient in boxing, and I stood toe-to-toe with the heavyweight champion of the world and gave him problems, even though he was beating me. So now here comes the endorsements. Here comes the television shows. Now George Foreman is coming back. He's coming back into the light of people. he fights Tommy, the guy that was in Rocky 5 as Rocky's son. I forget his last name. He fights Tommy. They fight the whole round. Tommy gives him the business, and George sinks again. But he's still making money from his television shows and all this other stuff. He gets in more fight. He does a couple more fights, whatever, and he doesn't do any good. So he just quits altogether. Now, here comes Michael Moore. Michael Moore beats Evander Holyfield, and he's 26-0 as a heavyweight champion of the world. And he's 26 years old. Again, inexperienced. He's not wise yet. When I say egotistical, I'm just saying like he's just thirsting for. He's like, I need more money. I need more opportunities. I need to fight. So they picked George Foreman to fight Michael Moore. George Foreman hadn't fought in years. George Foreman at this particular stage in his life was 45 years old. That's a classic. That's a classic 1977 Cadillac with the windows that roll down like this, with an 8-track in the dash compared to boxing. Just, you're not old at 45. I'm saying in the boxing arena, that's ancient. That's dinosaur. Fighting a 26-year-old who's 26-0 that just manhandled Evander Holyfield. Oh, this story is so beautiful. George Foreman is experienced. George Foreman told the announcers, he said, I'm going to knock Michael Moore out because Michael Moore is going to let me knock him out. And they were like, what? Oh, you really crazy. You really, you on some dumb stuff. And so during the fight, Michael Moore is standing toe-to-toe with George Foreman, giving him all that he has. And George Foreman admitted that some of those blows really hurt. They did some damage. But George Foreman he was the wise one now. You remember Muhammad Ali was the wise one against him in experience? Now he's the more seasoned vet. He's the more wiser person. He has strategy now. He's just not going in there trying to, take your jaw off. There's a method to his madness. So Michael Moore is winning every round. Michael Moore is giving George the busyness every round. George Foreman, he went back to the corner, and his trainer was like, well, you're getting beat every round. George said he got so upset because he said, I'm not trying to win every round. I'm going to win the fight. There's so many parables and allegories and metaphors just in that statement right there. When you're around somebody and something happens and you have to win the argument. You win the argument but lose the relationship. Oh man, George was preaching that day. He said, I'm not trying to win each round. I'm trying to win the fight. And so because of Michael Moore's ego, his youth, his inexperience, he's like, man, I'm about to get this old man the business. And so there was 2 left hooks that George Foreman missed. He missed, because I think they said that he was trying to gauge his reach. So, he missed. He missed again. He's like, all right, I got you. Michael Moore, so egotistical, he stood in there and was going to exchange with George Foreman. He had been giving him the business the whole fight. In the 10th round, George Foreman knocked out Michael Moore and became the heavyweight champion of the world again at 45 years old. At 1977 Cadillac with no air conditioning, with 8 tracks and the windows that manually rolled down, he became the champion of the world again. So the moral of the story that I got out of that, the inspirational side of me was like, all you have to do is stay in pocket. You're going to come across all types of obstacles. People are going to talk about you. Your family going to disown you. You're going to have a lot of things that come your way. But as long as you know who you are, which a lot of us don't, because a lot of us are directed to go, look over here. Look over here. You over here. You over here. They never are taught. You're never taught to say, this is who you are. Find out more about this and then expound on it. George Foreman knew he was going to get that young guy the business eventually if he just was to stay in pocket and follow the strategy, follow the plan, just stay put. He knew that he was going to be victorious because of the seasoning that he had garnered from all his travelings and all his fights, all his losses, more or less. You don't fail unless you quit. If you don't quit, then you're just getting more seasoning put into your plate. And so once that plate finally pops, they're gonna be like, oh my God. When I was a kid, I would and see women eat dessert. It looked like a sexual experience. A woman to eat something and they're like, oh my gosh. Oh, this is so good. I had never seen a man do that. And I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? Why would you do that? Now, as a man, when I'm like, God, this is my homeboy Chuck, my cousin Chuck. When he drinks something that's brand new that he's never tasted before, he'll drink it and then he'll throw it up to the sun, like, boy, this is amazing. This is magical. Like, he'll just like, and you be like, what are you doing? He'll be like, boy, you taste this? This is delicious. That's what your plate is going to be as long as you stay in pocket. It's going to be delicious. And that's one word that George Foreman used when he saw Michael Moore was still fighting him the way he predicted him to fight. He's like, oh, this is delicious. Because he knew his time was coming. He could feel it. He's like, yeah, this young boy getting greedy. He getting greedy. He about to taste. He's about to taste what I've been brewing for 20 some odd years. And he did it. And he became the world champion. And again, George Foreman he's the oldest heavyweight, I think that was, and he's hella rich. He sold over 100 million George Foreman grills. He has a boxing gym in Houston that has 5 parts to it. George Foreman you don't really hear about him. George Foreman is a living legend. Joe Frazier's gone. Muhammad Ali's gone. George is still here. And I wanted to bring that story to you. I know it was a longer, drawn-out story, but it just made me think of how you can apply that lesson to life. People going to cut out on you. They're not going to support you. I used to be this one person that be like, man, your family and friends, the people that know you don't really support you. It's the strangers. Well, so what? As long as somebody's supporting you, so focus on them. Don't focus on the people that aren't supporting you. Don't even mention them. Speak to the people that do support you. I salute the people that support me each and every weekend or any video that I produce or when I would come to the city and perform. I appreciate those people that would come. I know I put on shows a couple times where only 5 people showed up, and I was disappointed because of all the work that I put into those shows, those solo shows that I promoted and marketed myself, that I did all by myself. None of the people that was on the show helped to really promote the stuff because they maybe didn't believe in the show, but I believed in it, and there were people that actually came out, and I appreciate every last one of those individuals to the point where even when I had packed shows, I appreciate everybody that showed up because when you walk up the street to go to your destination, you are the one that's going to that destination. Somebody can act like they want to come, but if that's not their passion, then hey, go ahead and go to grandma's house. I'm still going. Go over to Miss Nini's house. I'm still going though, because once you get to that final destination, once you get to that point, all of the trouble, all of the turmoil, all of the tears, all of the argument, everything, all of the failures and the obstacles, they will be worth it, especially if you did it out of a genuine heart. You didn't want to take advantage of nobody. You want to do this on your own, and you did it. And the people that were there then, they're going to be there then. And those are the people that's important. So My guy, Jay Green. What's up? You're a beacon of knowledge, my guy. I appreciate that, man. I really do. And I'm grateful that I have somebody to talk to when I need somebody to talk to. And JR is one of them. And I appreciate you, brother. Miss Spivey, thank you. Thank you. You have been, again, one of the people that have been there since the first show that I've ever had in Indianapolis. And I really appreciate your support. This is 2021 and you still support me. And I really, really, really appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. Yeah, man. So I'm glad y'all stuck around and listened to what I had to say. And I hope you go out and you watch that documentary because it really did a lot to me. It did a lot for me, rather. And putting things in its proper perspective, because a lot of times, especially doing solo stuff, you think about, man, is this really being impactful? Because that's all I want to be impactful. When you look at a lot of the people that have the eyes and ears of the masses, they're impacting the people to do stuff that is less beneficial to the people and more harmful for the people. I want to disseminate power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. That's what I was placed here for. That's what the ancestors called me for. One thing Dick Gregory said is, when the ancestors call you, ain't nothing you can do about it. Because once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Once you recognize the Matrix, you can't go back and be like, you know what, Matrix? I want to come back in and grab a steak. Please, I don't want to see this no more. You can't do that. You're put here for a very, very specific reason. And I decided to accept that and just move forward with it. And my future self will appreciate the works that I've been able to do, that I've sacrificed to do, and that I will continue to do. And that's all we have this morning. I really want you guys to go and watch that documentary. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. Thank you. I hope it did something for your spirit this Saturday morning. It's a good jogger to get your day going, to know that you are capable of anything. You can do all things through yourself, as long as you are disciplined, determined, and dedicated. Discipline, determined, dedicated. Discipline, determined, and dedicated. With those 3 Ds, it don't matter what part of the world you're in. It doesn't matter. You're going to accomplish something, but you have to be disciplined, dedicated, and determined. You can't let the wind blow you this wind blow. Oh, I can't do it today. If it's something that you want to do, focus on it. Remove all the extra distractions. We put so many distractions on ourselves so that we can have an excuse. An excuse is the prerequisite for procrastination. Procrastination is the prerequisite for failure. Come on, somebody. Let me say that again. Excuses are the prerequisite for procrastination. Procrastination is the prerequisite for failure. Acknowledge when you're giving excuses. You don't have to follow through at that particular point, but just acknowledge that what you're about to say is an excuse. I do it all the time when I give excuses. And if you know me, I'll say, this is an excuse, but I'm not going to do this because da-da-da-da-da. I don't say that for the person I'm talking to. I say that for me. It's, okay, acknowledge that this is an excuse so you can circle back in a little bit. Why didn't you do this, Jamil? This is probably an excuse, but I didn't do it because no matter how valid it sounds, if it was something that kept you from taking the steps to complete something, it's an excuse. Yeah, I was going to do this, but I got sleepy. Excuse. It's an excuse, but I got sleepy. But I'm going to revisit it. That's it. Take this and send this to your kids. They probably won't listen to you. Kids have a tendency not to listen to the people that's telling them something. Send it to a perfect stranger. Let them call me the names. And he's stupid. He don't know what he's talking about. Well, at least you heard it from somebody else. So go ahead and bump your head. That's it, man. That's it. So if anybody has anything to say, go ahead and put that in the chat so we can address it. If not, then we're going to go ahead and go ahead with our weekend. I hope everybody has a safe weekend. Hope you get warm. Hope you get some sunshine. Hope you wipe a smile on your face. Wipe a smile on the face. Kiana Quarles says, excuses are tools to build monuments of nothingness. That's right. And we all have excuses. From time to time, we have excuses. And they're only justifiable to those that accept them. I don't accept excuses. I acknowledge these are my excuses. But I'm going to circle back and I'm going to erase this excuse. Because I want something. Cha-Cha, we appreciate your work, my brother. Man, I appreciate you, man. Man. My man Cha-Cha, man. Since I was a kid, he would always, when my brother didn't want me to hang out with him, he'd be like, nah, man, let him come. I learned a lot by hanging with Cha-Cha and older cats. It wasn't always good, but it damn sure wasn't always bad. I learned a lot. I was seasoned by hanging with older people. Experienced more by hanging with older people. And I will tell you this also. If you come across somebody that's wise, no matter if they're old or young, stick around. Learn something. Somebody said, I can tell you your future by the 5 people that are around you all the time. If you're the smartest one in your group, you need to start making some changes. Because you need even mentors need mentorship. Because I can mentor people only to a certain point because I'm still growing. I'm still evolving. When you get to the point where you think you know everything, and I come across a lot of people that say certain things that don't even make sense, but to them, because they've halted the learning process. So they're still stuck on stupid from the 90s when information is still coming out that's canceling out their ideas. And it's like, you didn't know that life is still going. Information is still being disseminated, and you're still stuck on this bullcrap. Well, that's cool, but I'm gonna go ahead and get out right here. Yeah, we don't need to have this discussion no more. But with no further ado, again, thank y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get this Saturday started, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Go out, be safe, man. My mama, I love you, mama. Always excellent show, son. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you right after I hang up from this show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all been a wonderful crowd. Thank y'all for coming out. Good night. God bless.
You are now listening to the Jamil Harley Morning Show.